This is Devin White, linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're listening to the LCC Network. Go Bucks.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Commissioner's Clubhouse on the LCC Network for our post mock draft reaction show. Obviously, we got the results up there from the last mock draft we did between the first and second rounds. With me today, like always, I've got Cody and Jameson on the show. How's y'all's Monday going so far?
I actually got off today, so it was pretty nice. Just chilled.
Sweet.
I was at work at 6 o'clock this morning, so
Oh my god.
I'm pretty wiped out. It was a long day, about 11 hours, so I'm worn out. But yeah, guys, on this episode, we've got we basically want to break down a little bit of what happened in the mock draft, the first two rounds. Kind of go over some of the things that we recognized, that we observed, and how that might change some of the draft strategy. Right? I think that's why we do this. That's why it's fun to do the mock, is to kind of get an idea of what could happen. What you want to happen. What maybe something goes not your way, right? And so it maybe makes you rethink how you might do things differently in the actual draft. The more of these you do, the more of these you practice at, the more you'll be prepared if things kind of go awry, during the draft day. So I figured we could just kind of spend some time breaking some of that down and kind of talking a little bit of strategy, if that works with you guys.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, let's play some Madden. Is this 05? What is this? That's the good stuff right there, guys. That's the good stuff. Um, so, so first thing that I had here, guys, is that I didn't really notice this till we got off of the first two rounds, but there was a lot of depth in the at wide receiver in the draft. So we went through two full rounds, which is 48 picks. We got done. We still had guys like DJ Moore, Kenny Galladay, AJ Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen, DK Metcalf. Tons of guys that I think. I mean, I would be comfortable in a league this size. I would be comfortable with most of those guys as my wide receiver one if I had to. You know what I mean? Not in a smaller league, but like DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, Juju Smith. I'd be fine with those guys. So, I mean, what do you guys think about that? Does it make you change your strategy? Were you surprised by that? What were your overall thoughts there?
I was the first one to go receiver in the draft. I got Michael Thomas, and I was like, at the time, I was like, why don't I just go get the best receiver? Whatever, it's a safe pick, can't go wrong there, blah, blah, blah. But then we had DeAndre Hopkins go in the first, and then we had Julio Jones go in the first. And that was pretty much. Oh, and we had Odell Beckham Jr. go in the first round. So we had like four receivers go in the first round. So there were a lot of wide receiver ones still left in the second round. And on top of that, we know for a fact, obviously, Austin has no interest at all going Julio Jones there. So maybe really you have an extra wide receiver one that falls into the second. So there is a ton of depth. And I think part of it, Jameson, is because of the fact that we've got one starting receiver now instead of a minimum of two. So I think you're going to naturally see more receivers in the draft pool, more talent there, and even in the free agency too.
And I think you saw like us kind of give wide receivers to those that we didn't know much about. A lot of the newer guys took receivers in the first two rounds, and you know, there were a couple that were just good enough that could go in the first two rounds. But maybe all these receivers don't go in the first two. And maybe there's, people emphasize defense or people are emphasizing. Maybe quarterback gets a little more emphasized, Get your play caller. There's only 24. There's 24 teams now. So
Yeah,
24 is a
it's
lot different than one. So maybe that's you see a run on something like that instead of receivers. It's just, projection, and I don't think I think maybe like you will see. I don't think receivers are as like valuable, but you'll definitely see guys go high, too high.
So I just counted there were 9 receivers that went between the first 2 rounds. So you still have wide receiver ones there in the 3rd round. That's pretty good.
That's very good, and that was kind of what I realized when I got done when we got done mocking the first 2 rounds. I really regretted picking Mike Evans in the second round. Like, and I know Cody wasn't a fan of it at all anyway, but I really regretted it when I looked at the depth because I really could have waited and gotten a guy like an Adam Thielen or an AJ Brown, in the 3rd round or something like that, who I'm really high on. So it made me really kind of rethink. I really wish I passed on Joe Mixon and Josh Jacobs, and looking back, I probably would have picked one of those guys and then maybe gone linebacker in the 2nd round. TJ Watt would have still been there based on our mock, something like that, and then gone receiver in the 3rd round, right? So I don't know. I mean, I'm glad that we did that so we could kind of see that. But I think to Cody's point, I think we always just kind of, just give, one of those wide receivers, those big names to guys that we don't really know a lot about. That's just kind of like the default thing to do, I guess, right? So I'd be interested to see if that actually happens during the draft.
Yeah, I agree.
So where would you guys consider, so seeing what we see now, what are you guys thinking you might take your first receiver? Assuming nothing crazy falls to you. I mean, like, is there a chance you take a receiver in the 2nd, or do you think you're going to wait?
Well,
I could take a receiver in the 3rd, but I would like to get one in the 4th, just because I have a quick turnaround.
Okay. So you on the 4th, that would be your long trip back, right? Your 2nd one. So not the 2nd and 3rd,
Yeah,
but
it
then
would be
on
the
the.
long one. I mean, I
Okay.
would think about it at 3, depending on like who was there.
Yeah.
But like,
So
I
would you feel
honestly, what now?
would you feel comfortable with any of those guys as your wide receiver 1, like Juju or DJ Moore, in a league this big?
Mm, I mean, there's a couple of guys that can be wide receiver 1s. Like basically, you're not getting a sure thing. You're getting a guy that has the potential, and that's what you're gonna be drafting on potential. And then your 2nd pick is gonna be a guy that's consistent, like your 2nd receiver, somebody that's not flashy, but you know what he's giving you each week.
Yeah.
And then you take a chance on like a DJ Moore busting out to be top 5 again or something like that. I don't know who's 5. Keenan Allen's got a shot. Stephon Diggs in Buffalo. You know, Adam Thielen's still out there. I mean, he puts up big numbers. Do you take a chance on you know, maybe you take a chance on a rookie. There's a ton of top level rookies in some good situations.
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
I'll
I
say
That'll
don't know.
be.
I'll say this for me though, like picking at the what was it one? Yeah, the 109. I got Michael Thomas. Looking at it again, I probably would do it a little bit differently. I probably honestly would go Derrick Henry, maybe Nick Chubb, or who knows, maybe a guy like Corey Littleton or Bobby Wagner there, just because of the fact that when I go back and look at the running back I got at that pick in the 2nd round, I don't mind having a guy like hang on, I already forgot his name. Kenyon Drake.
Kenyon.
Yeah, I forgot who I drafted. I don't mind having Kenyon Drake, but at the same time, when I weigh it, I can get a top 7, 8 running back versus a guy that's on the on that very cusp of being an RB1. So, and I still get a wide receiver 1 in the 2nd round. So I think I'd probably do it a little bit differently looking back.
Yeah.
I just don't know exactly which player I would go with that pick.
I could see
Honestly,
receivers dropping back really far, and then
yeah,
2nd round, like there's a flood of them.
yeah. I think you're going to see
Yeah.
probably more run. You may see more running backs than we mocked go in the 1st round, which is extremely scary if you're
What
in the
was
back
the
end of this.
what was the over under? Didn't we do an over under on that one time?
I think we did. I don't remember though.
I want to say I said like I don't know. I said like a high number, like 10 or 11, and
Of
y'all were pretty low.
what? 10 or 11 what?
RBs in the first round or something like that.
Oh, I'm believing it more now than ever.
Yeah,
For
I mean,
sure.
we had 14 running backs go in our mock between 2 rounds. You think about that. There's some guys now that are looking at a high end RB2. Don't get me wrong, but still, like drafting an RB2 at that point. So, who knows? It might get even. We said it's going to be crazier than the way we mocked it for sure. But God, imagine more running backs than that going in the first 2 rounds. That's crazy.
Linebacker's going to be a one that goes quick too. There's a linebacker is like pretty loaded as a group though.
Yeah, and that's kind of my
Outside the
thought.
running back.
I was thinking about that. Like, I'm dead. You guys know me, how huge I am with Darius Leonard, and I was wanting him to fall to me, and I still do. But if he doesn't, I don't feel like I have to pull the trigger on a linebacker that pick, just because there's so much depth there in the 3rd round from what we saw.
If I can get what I did for my team, I would totally take that.
Yeah.
You know, go. Obviously, I can't pass up one of the top 3 running backs being in that top 3, but then being able to get a linebacker of, you know, of White's quality
Yeah.
and the potential to be much better.
I'm counting the linebackers right now. 4, 5, 6,
So,
7, 8. We
what
had
would be yours, Jameson?
What would be my what?
How would you do this positionally?
In my draft, if I could do it,
Yeah, in your spot.
I would probably go. 'Cause I believe that Joe Mixon was still there, if I'm not mistaken. Joe Mixon and Josh Jacobs. I'd probably go with one of those running backs, just because I'm a believer in both. I feel like they could be my RB1 if I had to. And then I would probably go linebacker in the 2nd round. A guy like TJ Watt, or someone like that would still be there. And then maybe a receiver in the 3rd round.
Yeah, you gotta like that running back linebacker combo in the first 2 rounds seems to be
Yeah.
the winner.
Like I struggled with Evan's pick on the show. I was like, I really don't like this thing. And after we looked back at it, I was like, that's disgusting. But it's good because now I'm not gonna make that mistake in the draft. So, but yeah, that's what I would do. I would probably go running back, just because Eckler didn't fall to me in the 2nd round, which is what I was hoping. So I'd probably go running back there in the 1st. So it's gonna be running back heavy. But yeah.
So there were 10 linebackers, by the way, drafted between the first 2 rounds. So linebacker actually went faster than I thought it would, honestly. When I look back at it.
Yeah. It went
So,
quick. It went in bolt. Like,
so
What were you saying?
okay. It was like in little runs too.
Yeah.
Like they were all like bulked up. Once one went, then it was just like bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
I think Corey Blake, and Jalen Smith went within 3 picks of each other. I think in the 1st round, or 4 picks of each other. Oh, Bobby Wagner. Sorry. So 4 of 6 picks in the 1st round were linebacker. Looking back at it, and then we had a lot of running backs at the front and then at the end. And then we had a couple of safeties. So that was something that I was thinking about off the show, guys. We mocked Budda Baker in the 1st round. The only safety that we mocked in the 1st round. I think we had Jamal Adams and Derwin James and Minka Fitzpatrick in the 2nd. So at this point, we're looking at least and Landon Collins. So we're looking at least and Jabril Peppers. Jesus. Do you guys think that many DBs go in the first 2 rounds? I think we mocked like 6 or 7.
I didn't mock any.
It's
Cody
possible.
says, I'm not responsible.
I'm not responsible. No, I think there's a chance. I mean, at some point you got to think like, all right, do I want the 10th best linebacker, the 10th best running back, or do you want to get like the best player at this one position? You know what I mean? Because if you're drafting the later part of the 1st round, especially, you could take that chance on passing on on a running back or linebacker and go get a defensive back, and then go get another solid player at one of those other positions that you skipped on in the first round. So I don't think it's a terrible idea for teams to do that. I could see a good number of safeties, especially going in the first 2 rounds.
I don't know. I feel like we went a little too much looking back at this. But I will say the one position I think we nailed perfectly was quarterback. We had 6 quarterbacks go in the first 2 rounds. And I don't really have an issue with any of them for the most part in those picks. The Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, and Russell Wilson. And I think they went in the right order, too. I'm looking at the draft board now. Do you guys expect 6 quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds?
Easily, yeah. I think that's very reasonable. I mean, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, they're definitely going to go probably in the first round. I'd be shocked if they both didn't go in the first round. So that only leaves.
Oh, they're going in the top 10. Both of them are going in the top 10.
Yeah. So I mean, that leaves only 4 other quarterbacks going in the second round. I think that's very reasonable too. Honestly, Russell Wilson, very reliable and huge upside at the same time. You know, Dak Prescott, a lot of people are high on him. I don't know if Isaac specifically is that high on him, but he's definitely worth looking at.
Probably not. Probably not.
Kyler Murray going to Mike, I think that specifically definitely could happen. The only thing different I could see Mike possibly doing is maybe going running back instead of receiver there with Tyreek. But yeah, everything else.
Are you dirty Mike and the boys?
Yeah, everything else checks off. I mean, Deshaun Watson, another guy that could possibly go in the first. So I think all of that could easily happen. I wouldn't, expect anything less, honestly.
Okay. So you mentioned Mike, maybe not going Tyreek Hill. So for one, looking back on it, Tyreek Hill's a first-round pick. I don't know why we let him get that far. Putting guys like Julio and Odell Beckham ahead of him, that was a little bit weird. But 2, Mike is a wild card. Mike is a true wild card. He has been since he came into the league. There's no telling what he would do at those 2 picks. And I think we gave him Kyler Murray, like trying to be cute a little bit, like, oh, he's a Cardinals fan and all. But that's actually not a bad combo, though. I would actually like to maybe start that way. Maybe not Kyler Murray that high, but we could have a lethal offense.
I would look at Kyler Murray if I was picking that late. I definitely would.
Okay. Kind of like what Mike did, pair him with.
I mean, he's got killer weapons.
I probably wouldn't go receiver there, but I would definitely go probably Kyler Murray there.
Okay. That's fair. Again, which illustrates my point. I'm looking at the draft board, and I think we've talked about this off and on the show, but Cody mentioned it too. Being at the front or the back. You know what I mean? I'm looking at the back. I see guys like, Odell Beckham. I don't really like Melvin Gordon, but I would have maybe Eckler there. Kyler Murray, Tyreek Hill on a team. Saquon and Devin White on a team. McCaffrey and Joe Bosa on a team. And I see the middle. I see like Landon Collins, Derrick Henry. Ugh. Thanks. Fred Warner and Nick Chubb. That's Fred Warner solid. I don't know. It kind of makes me want to see if I can trade back. See what I can do at the back of the draft.
No, I like the back. Look at Jordan. I loved his picks. Josh Jacobs and Joe Schobert. I'm a huge fan of both those guys. I thought that was solid. I mean, we had Colby going Aaron Jones and Jamal Adams. That's a solid duo, I feel like. Team Brandon was the only one I really disliked entirely. Odell Beckham Jr. and Melvin Gordon. I think that's a risk with 2 picks.
I don't think you're gonna like any of them in the back half that have receivers.
Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of OBJ. I think I just never have.
Never have?
No, honestly, I just something about him. Even when he was good, and obviously I was wrong at that point in time, but I just wasn't. I was never a big fan of him for some reason.
Huh.
Yeah, I've never been a massive fan of him. I didn't hate him.
But
I don't hate him now.
I think most of it was because of the weapons his quarterback throwing to him. everywhere he went. I mean, it's Eli Manning at the back end of his career. It was the Browns just in general. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just never a good look. So I don't know. I'm just not a big fan.
Okay. So, so who's your favorite? Like, two. I mean, is there? I think we talked about it maybe briefly last, but like just absolutely killer draft so far.
For
I know
me,
you like Russell Wilson and Alvin Cook.
I think that was definitely really good.
Maybe not a quarterback.
I thought it was a good duo. Like I said, I like Jordan's a lot. I'm huge on Josh Jacobs. He's so early on in his career, and I think there's a lot of upside there with him. I'm trying to think of who else. The Blake Martinez with Daquan, and then you turned around and got Devontae Adams. I thought that was great value. Devontae Adams that late in the second, I felt was pretty good. And you get a stud up there at linebacker with Blake Martinez. I don't know. There weren't a lot of teams really between the two rounds. To me, that was like, ooh, that was really rough. Besides maybe Team Brandon, I like I said, I didn't like the picks we did for him. You could argue Big Os, Slapdicks, going Julio Jones in the first. And then I think we get in the second round, we ended up giving him TJ Watt. And that one I wasn't a big fan of. I think there were better players there for him. Those are probably the only two I didn't like. For some reason, I'm looking at this. It says we drafted Kevin Stefanski for Storm. I didn't even know we could draft coaches on here, but that's interesting. I don't remember us drafting a quarterback at all. So this is blowing my mind right now as I look at this.
I don't see Storm has Nuke and Joe Burrow.
Oh, I'm glad someone's seeing the right one. When I'm looking at it, as Kevin Stefanski drafted in the second round by the Vegetarians, and he's ranked 9,999th overall.
What?
Yes.
I'm not seeing that either.
I'm glad I'm the only one seeing it. So.
So if you're seeing it, that means the people that are watching are seeing it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's funny. So I guess one more thing, guys, would be, what about, we mentioned very briefly. Sorry, there's a dog barking.
I was like, what is that?
I got distracted. We mentioned very briefly about maybe some of the rookies and when we look at the draft, Kenyon Drake went in the second. I know you love it, Pat. I think he'll be solid, but I think I might take a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire over him. So I'm looking at this, and if this holds true, there's gonna be there's gonna be a lot of. I think there could be at least 3 or 4 rookie picks in the second round, as high as the second round.
Oh,
I mean,
for
sure.
sure.
What do you guys think about that?
No, I don't think that's unreasonable at all. After seeing some of these picks, and some guys are going to be panicking with their running back situation, I would be shocked if at least multiple rookies did not go in the second round. Probably not the early second, but middle to late part of the second round, I think someone's going to pull the trigger on them.
Okay. All right. So what do you think? So are you going to jump in at that value if they're going in the second round, or are you going to sit back and kind of let players fall to you?
I'm going to let them fall to me. Where I'm picking, I don't feel like it's worth going a rookie running back there, and that's where I would go with a rookie pick if I were to. But if I was a guy, let me scroll down a little bit. Oh, I'm already at the bottom. If I was a guy, let's see. We had Cameron, perfect example, going Darius Leonard. And I guess he's only picking one pick beyond me. I mean, that's the person I could see doing it. I mean, I guess it's, yeah, I don't know. Because the issue is, when we talk about the late part of the second, those teams already have an RB1. I highly doubt they're going to put in a rookie pick to get another RB1 as a rookie, potentially RB1. Nothing guaranteed there. Or the other thing is they go like linebacker, which I think is way too high for a rookie linebacker this year. So who knows? Maybe it is more like middle of the second round, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Well, if that happens, guys, I'm gonna let you guys put your picks in. I'm gonna just
Stay
take
out
what
of it.
falls to me. You know what I mean? Uh, I have no interest in that.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm a more conservative fantasy player. I'm not gonna. I don't know. I mean, unless it's a guy that I look at as can't miss, like Josh Jacobs was last year, Saquon the year before. I tend to be a little more reserved in how I approach the rookie draft. So, do you think it's going to matter if these rules? I mean, right now we're voting on the rookie rules about being able to drop players or fourth year options and stuff like that. Do you think that's going to affect anything depending on how that goes with what guys choose to do?
Yeah, for sure it has to.
Yeah,
It doesn't.
I think there's definitely a good chance for sure. Because let's say you get in there and you draft a rookie with a second round pick, and because of the rules, you're stuck with him for a full year. That's going to change the game. There's a lot more risk all of a sudden. It ups the ante for sure. Or you get in a situation where you can't trade a rookie player, and then you're kind of stuck with a guy, and it's like, well, what do I do now? You know what I mean? So you're going to have to cut
Yeah.
someone else, and if you want to add more depth to that position or someone better. So I think it's definitely going to change the value of rookies and where they go.
Okay. All right. So I'm assuming that we all think it's going to be running backs at the top, but where do you see rookie wide receivers going? I mean, with all of that depth, I think
Late.
I'm curious. Well, I'm curious
Late.
because like rookie receivers, even in our last format, they weren't like super high picks, really, hardly at all. Now we've got a lot of depth. We didn't even discuss tight ends. We hadn't even picked Travis Kelce or George Kittle or anyone like that. So, I mean, where what's realistic for where you see a rookie wide receiver go? 7th round, 8th round, 10th round?
I'd say more like 10th, honestly, 9th round maybe, 9th, 10th round, because there's so much risk at drafting a wide receiver any year in a rookie draft. Or if you don't have a rookie draft, let's say you're just in a regular redraft league, there is a lot of risk drafting a rookie receiver. So I think for you to take that risk, it better be late. It better be a cheap pick because I don't see how it's worth it with the amount of depth that we saw within the first 2 rounds of this.
Okay. Any thoughts, Cody?
I mean, his round is right, and the value's not there. But at the same time, somebody's going to give up something higher than that. I'm sure of it. Thinking they got a can't hit. CD Lamb's going to be can't hit. Like they're just going to allow that to, or maybe somebody goes in there and picks two rookies and let's see which one hits, and we'll start both of them. Like that'll be my two guys. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Hope you're right.
Yeah.
Some people aren't
No,
going to know what's going on, and they're going to mess up like that.
yeah. And that's why I love these mocks because it gives you an idea of what's going to be there and how to plan. But, to your point about the roster size, like I think it's easy to forget that you get two of every player basically. So if you draft a rookie, like that's your guy, that and one veteran, is your guy. So you have to be willing to take that chance and say, all right, well, I'm going to roll with CeeDee Lamb and Allen Robinson or something. And honestly, I would not like that at all. I mean, some guys are really high on Allen Robinson. I am not. So you probably would not see me drafting rookie wide receivers really anywhere unless they're the number one guy on the team and they're going to get all of the target volume. But even in places where they are, Denzel Mims in New York or Henry Ruggs, with the Raiders, what's the target volume for a team like that, right? An offense that can't stay on the field, 110 targets, 78 catches and 900 yards. I'm not interested in drafting a guy, a receiver for something like that. So, yeah, I think they're going to drop. What about besides just the running backs? Do we expect like some of the linebackers? The Kenneth Murrays, the Isaiah Simmons. We saw some of the linebackers like Fred Warner go in the second round. Do they creep up into the third round or the
I
second
think
round?
I mean, I hope not. They're not worth it. But at the same time, like, I don't know what anybody's gonna do really. I've never been in a 24 teams on one side.
Yeah, none of us
Yeah.
have. That's the interesting thing. There's not a single person in this league who can say, "Yeah, I've done this before. I'm pretty familiar with this." Like I don't know anyone.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a learning experience for all of us for sure.
Yeah. When you think about it, like guys, there's going to be a team that has the 24th best quarterback in the league.
As our
You know
starter,
what I mean? Like as their starting quarterback. That sounds disgusting. Their number one wide receiver. Someone's number one receiver is going to be wide receiver 24, which is like, Devontae Parker or something like that. Or a Golden Tate as your number one wide receiver. So, I mean, it's going to be kind of ugly. I think one more thing I think we've learned from this mock is that two things. One, if you miss on a player with some of your first picks, it could derail not only your season this year, it could derail your next season too. And if you miss on your first or second round pick, I mean, that's like the guy that you would have the competitive advantage in because you drafted him higher than, his position. So it really could destroy you if you miss early, or vice versa. If you hit on a guy in the late round, on 7th, 8th, 9th round, it could really kind of put you on the fast track toward the playoffs.
Yeah, you just somebody's gonna hit on something big, and it's just gonna propel them to the playoffs. Like one of those receivers is gonna bust out. Whoever gets that bust out receiver, or one of them running backs, whoever spent like a nice pick on the running backs.
yeah.
So
Cody,
it's
number
exciting.
3.
Huh?
Anything else you guys want to talk about? So, I mean, just to summarize things we've learned from this mock, lots of receiver depth in drafting. Running backs go very early. Consider that when you're drafting. I mean, the second round had guys like Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler at the very top of it. Wait on DBs. We have 6 go, but Cody and I think that change in the real draft. Rookies will probably go higher than we thought. And don't miss early and try to find the value late. One more question for you guys before we get off. Will you, given our new style where I think, you're going to want to find someone late to maybe take a shot on to push you toward a title, are you willing to play it maybe more aggressively in the later rounds as opposed to playing it safer with a guy like, all right, I know this guy can give you some solid points? Or are you going to take a shot on, someone who you think might be able to break out this season, like even if he hasn't had the best track record?
Gotta take a shot.
Yeah, especially the
Win,
late
win.
rounds. Yeah.
Yeah. I ain't gonna get somebody that I know is gonna get me, 15 to 20 points every time. I want the guy that hasn't done it yet and that I think can get me 30.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on who that might be this year? You guys got anyone in your head that you just, I mean, maybe that's a different episode later, but anyone that you're just like, I really like this guy this season?
Man. I think
For me, it's Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is the guy for me this year.
I think for me it might
I
be a
think he's gonna
tight
be-
end, honestly. Like some
Really?
people might be shying away from tight ends just because there's going to be more receivers in the free agency pool, but I might take a shot in a tight end in the last couple rounds. Just because
Huh.
I really feel
He
like
said, huh.
last year, especially for me, because I seem to always struggle with that position, I got away with Mark Andrews as basically my wide receiver too, pretty much every week. So if I could get a guy like him in the 10th round or something like that, maybe the 9th round, I'd be okay with that.
I
Cody just
feel
went,
you.
huh, too.
Yeah,
feel you on that.
yeah. Not too impressed with that one.
I mean, I would take him in the
I
ninth
don't know.
round.
Mark Andrews?
Yeah, any of the
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, any of
I
the
would-
stud linebackers.
I would just probably take more of a chance on somebody like I always try to like highlight like year 3 guys, year 2 guys, and year 1 guys. And try to because those are normally the years where somebody's gonna bust out in those years, and I just try to find those best candidates. And in those late rounds, I try to hit on those. If I'm like digging a rookie that nobody touched during the rookie draft, like I'll start targeting him. Like somebody in their
Yeah.
second year, like that maybe came on late, didn't get so many chances early, and came on late in the season. Like I'll maybe try to take a chance on him. And same thing with third year receivers are really a big thing. Honestly, they a lot of like receivers bust out in their third year, so I don't know. I look at stuff like that and just base my decision on where I'm at and how far once it gets to my pick and it's dropped, whatever I valued higher, like I'll kind of mess with. And I kind of do that, with the last 5 or 6 picks.
Okay. Yeah. Um, I like that. I like that a lot. Anything else from you guys before we go? I mean, that kind of summarizes what we've learned from the mock draft. I don't know what we have next week. I'll have to check, but I know it's going to be fun. It's always fun.
Well, I will say this: make sure you guys get your votes in if you haven't already for the rookie draft. So those 2 rules that we had missed out on a couple months ago, and then next Friday, obviously, will be the deadline to get your picks in to participate in the rookie draft. I'll be sure to post that in the message board this week, so everyone has plenty of time to do that and think about it. And the following Friday will be when the rookie draft starts.
Sweet. All right, guys. Well, we will see you next week. Take it easy.
Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy.